Alright, welcome back to another review. It's me, Samuel. We're back again with another movie review for January. And tonight, we're talking about a kick-ass movie that came out in the 80s starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi. It's called Red Heat, directed by Walter Hill, one of the greatest directors of all time. He's one of my favorite #1 directors of all time. That's right. I think I mentioned it before that Walter Hill is my favorite director. This man made a lot of badass movies like The Warriors, The Driver, 48 Hours, Another 48 Hours, Southern Comfort, a whole bunch of kick-ass fucking movies, man. Like, this guy knows how to direct an action movie, and he knows how to make badass fucking scenes and moments in the film. Not like these other directors in this modern society today. They can't make kick-ass movies like Walter Hill and Tony Scott did. And lately, Walter Hill came out with a new action movie that came out last year in 2022 called Dead by a Dollar. It starred Willem Dafoe and I think the other guy's name is Christopher Waltz. And it's like a Western movie. And this isn't the first time he did a Western movie. He did another one called something else. I forgot what it was fucking called. But he did another Western movie in the 80s. And now I remember, it's called The Long Riders, I think, and it has all the Carradine brothers in there and the other brothers in there too. That's like a really good idea because, see right there, see that's how a director can come up with great ideas. They cast the right actors to play these characters. You don't see directors do shit like that anymore. They cast like real life brothers to play brothers in a movie. They don't do shit like that anymore. They got the Carradine brothers, David Keith and Robert Carradine, all three of them together in one movie. You know how fucking awesome that is? One of the guys from Revenge of the Nerds, and then you got fucking the other dude from Southern Comfort, and you got the other guy from the Kung Fu movies. Well, not Kung Fu movies, I mean the Kung Fu the show. You know what I'm talking about. All three in one movie. And also the Quaid brothers, Randy and Dennis, and you got Stacy and James Keach. Like right there, see? That's how you're supposed to be creative as a director. The directors these days can't think of their brains anymore, which I don't understand. Why is so hard to come up with ideas like these directors did back in the 1980s? They know how to be creative with the story and the casting and the actors. They know how to be creative with all of that back then. Now it's like they don't even try. They have no passion to make a movie anymore. They just don't have it. They don't take the guts and the balls to actually make a great fucking movie. They don't. They're not creative at all. It's like they remake everything all the time. And that's sad. It's fucking sad. But anyways, let's go back to reviewing Red Heat by Walter Hill. Now, this is a real classic film. This is definitely in my top 5 favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. It has to be like at least #2 or #3 at least. I really like this movie. And I wish this movie could talk about more. Which is sad because the only movies people only talk about is Predator or the Terminator films. They don't talk about Red Heat. They don't talk about Conan the Barbarian. They don't talk about Raw Deal or The Running Man much. They don't. It's always about Predator and the Terminator over and over again. I love the Predator. I like the Terminator, but I wish movies like The Red Heat and fucking Conan the Barbarian gets talked about more, but it's always about Predator and the Terminator. But yeah, Predator is definitely #1. I put Red Heat #2. I don't know what should be #3. I don't know yet. We'll figure out that later. But anyways, yeah. So this movie is basically about Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a Russian cop who is basically chasing after this Russian drug dealer played by Edel Ross, which he's a really good actor. He plays a great villain in this film. And he chases after him, and he escapes to America. And now he has to go to America to find him, where he meets Jim Belushi, and he plays a cop also, American cop. And he talks a lot of shit, and he's fucking hilarious. Back then, I wasn't really a big fan of Jim Belushi. I thought he was not funny when I was a kid. I didn't really like him when I was a kid. But then I got older, I started like Jim Belushi more. I started finding him more funnier. But he's not funny as his brother John Belushi. John Belushi was fucking hilarious when he was alive. Animal House, The Blues Brothers, Saturday Night Live and shit. If it wasn't for John Belushi, Jim Belushi wouldn't have a career, to be fair. I think. But yeah, John Belushi will always be funnier than Jim Belushi. Even though Jim Belushi's funny too, but I think John Belushi is a lot funnier. But anyways, Jim Belushi, like I said, he plays a cop. He talks a lot of shit. He calls Arnie Gumby because he looks like Gumby. He walks like Gumby. He wears a suit like Gumby, and that's pretty fucking hilarious. He calls him that. Also, a young Lawrence Fishburne's in this movie. He wears glasses and shit, and he plays a lieutenant in this movie, lieutenant cop. And also, back then, he wasn't known as Lawrence Fishburne. He was known as Larry Fishburne. And now, he's older now. He doesn't like to be called Larry Fishburne. He got mad one time about that because like this one rapper went up to him and say, "What's up, Larry?" And Lawrence Fishburne got pissed off about it. They call him Larry instead of Lawrence. I don't know why he gets so butthurt about that. Larry's short for Lawrence. I don't know why he gets so mad about that. But anyways, yeah, he plays lieutenant. He does a really good job in this film. I really enjoy him as the lieutenant. And Peter Boyle plays the commander, which I find that'd be really interesting to pick Peter Boyle to be the commander. He fits perfectly too. He fits very perfectly playing the commander. I'm like, Peter Boyle and Lawrence Fishburne together in one movie? That works pretty good. That was pretty solid casting right there, to be fair. Oh yeah, I forgot another scene in this movie where Arnold shows up to this drug bust and he takes off this guy's fucking leg off and like the cocaine comes out of the guy's leg. He's like, cocaine him and shit. And fucking Victor's pissed off and he had to shoot out and fight. And Victor escapes and shit. That scene was fucking hilarious. We took the guy's leg. I was like, cocaine him. Like, that shit was fucking funny, too. I also like one of the other scenes in the movie where Arnold and Jim Belushi goes to that prison and they talk to these other black dudes and shit. They talk to this one black dude with the shades and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that scene. And also the other scene where they had that big shootout in the apartment and this one screaming bitch won't shut up. You know, she got nice titties and nice looking body. But anyways, she wouldn't shut the fuck up. And Arnold had to shoot these black dudes and shit with a gun. Like, bang, bah, bah, shoot these motherfuckers. And he shoots I think he shoots Victor out the window. And he go out the window like in this fucking slow motion and shit. That whole apartment scene was pretty badass. And also, they had this hot chick in here. And she was like Victor's girl or something like that. His slut. And she was like pretty hot in this movie. I was like, God damn. You know, Walter Hill has great taste in women. I'll tell you that. Like most of his movies, he has like hot, sexy women in his movies. And she's like definitely one of them too. She's pretty fucking hot. Gina Gershon or something like that. That's how you pronounce her name. Gina Gershon. Yeah, she's pretty hot, man. Sexy ass broad. And she gets killed too. She gets fucking smoked by I think Victor kills her or something. I forgot what fucking happened. Yeah. He I think he kills her like off screen or something. Damn. That's a goddamn shame. It's a goddamn shame. Also, Brian James in here. I forgot who Brian James was. I think he was a bad guy too. I forgot who Brian James was in this movie. He was somebody though. Jim Belushi was fucking hilarious in this movie. He definitely was. The closest you say this movie is fucking hilarious. If you haven't seen Red Heat, you gotta watch this shit. Jim Belushi says like the funniest shit in this movie besides calling Arnie Gumby all the time. It's a pretty fucking funny movie and kick-ass action. But like I said, I don't understand why Red Heat doesn't get talked about much like Predator and the Terminator films. This movie never gets talked about much. I never get that for some reason. That's all they talk about is Predator and the Terminator. They never talk about Red Heat or The Running Man or fucking Conan the Barbarian films. They never talk about any about those. It's always about fucking the Terminator and Predator film. It's always about that all the goddamn time. I mean, they're great films, but why not talk about something else besides those two films? It's always the same shit. It's a shame. It's a goddamn shame you don't see movies like these anymore, like the 80s had. The 1980s had the best action movies of all time. The best action movies, in my opinion. I don't think any decade like the 90s. You know what? Maybe the 90s and 70s. No, the 70s is closest to the 80s. I mean, like the best action films of the time. I'll put 1980s number 1, number 2 is the 70s, and I think the 90s would be number 3. But that's the top 3 of best decades for action movies, to be fair. The 80s, 70s, and 90s. Then after that, it's like we start getting more amateur directors, don't know what the fuck they're doing, and but years go by, they get even worse directors, don't know what the fuck they're doing, like that other asshole who made that Blade Runner sequel. That guy's a fucking tool. Like, he's the most boringest director I ever seen in my entire life of directors. This guy is so fucking boring. He makes fucking Walter Hill and Tony Scott look like fucking geniuses, masterpieces. He makes Uwe Boll look like a fucking masterpiece. To be fair, Uwe Boll can make better movies than that fucking guy. Uwe Boll made like one good movie called what's it called? Assault on Wall Street? Yeah, Assault on Wall Street. I actually really like that movie, Assault on Wall Street. He goes there and shoots everybody up, and he kills fucking Kevin McAllister's dad. He kills him, he leaves. That shit was awesome. He killed Kevin McAllister's dad. He killed his fucking dad. You know, that'd be a great review, reviewing Assault on Wall Street. If you guys vote for that, I'll do a review on that in the future. I like Assault on Wall Street with Dominic Purcell. He's not a bad actor, to be fair. He's not a bad actor. I just wish he's like in more, action movies. Like he's like the main role and shit like that. but instead, sorry. But instead, we rather had fucking dorks play action heroes now. There's no more people like Jason Statham anymore. This and that. Gotta have dorks playing action heroes now.